All right, welcome back to the channel, everybody. Hopefully you're doing fantastic. Welcome back to the breaking Bitcoin market update. A happy Tuesday to everyone. I hope you guys enjoyed your Labor Day weekend. You know, life is short and it's important to spend time with those who we love and cherish. Always take advantage of those opportunities that life gives you to enrich your life and give deeper meaning to it. You know, life is a choose your own adventure story, and we get to be in control of turning the pages, and you only get one chance. So make that page turning worth it. We've got a great show for you guys today. Obviously, my name is Justin Wise, lead analyst and senior mentor at crackingcryptocurrency.com. Hopefully you guys are doing fantastic wherever you happen to be tuning into the show from and however you're watching us, whether it's on YouTube, Twitch, DLive, or over on Twitter. We're going to hook back up Trovo and Facebook in a little bit, but honestly, I really kind of prefer to focus on the Twitch, DLive, YouTube, and Twitter audience. So good Tuesday to you guys. We've got a lot of market updates coming for you guys. Of course, before we begin, we are extremely proud to host the fastest growing online community of cryptocurrency traders and investors. To stay up to date long after the show is over, make sure to join us in the Discord at discord.crackingcryptocurrency.com. The link is also down in the description, as is the link for today's market analysis, which we will be following along with today. Quick summary of the markets before we begin. Bitcoin is having a pretty negative day, not massive as far as percentages go, but as far as where it's happening, the volatility is important. We do have decent volume on this dump. Bitcoin trading down below 19,000. So we have now lost the psychological level of 20,000, as well as the key support level of 19,000 that I was eyeing, that lower shelf of Bitcoin price action. And we'll look at that a little bit later on the charts. But this price level that Bitcoin currently just broke through supported Bitcoin's price 3 times over the past 3 months. So this is a very obvious level of horizontal support and resistance. Whenever we have a very obvious level, we can anticipate a lot of volatility and we can anticipate a hot spot. Now, typically, what we will do is educate traders to not trade into hot spots, but we are going to share the 2 potentialities of this price action, really. And that is that over the next few days, this level does act as support, and we do get a nice bounce up from these areas. However, as we continue to grind deeper into this bear market, that reality continues to look a little bit more bleak as the days go by. The other is that we do experience that capitulation event. We will experience older coins that are finally moving around and selling into capitulation and moving us down to kind of that ultimate price of around 13, 15,000, as we've been talking about for a while, utilizing on-chain and technical analysis metrics to get that delta price of around 13, 15,000. It's actually the delta price is 13,520 right now, as the crow flies. My dog just freaked out again outside. But, you know, and as I wrote in my market analysis this morning, I am reminded of November 2018. If you guys can take yourself back, November 2018, Bitcoin had been in a decline all year since the blow off top in December 2017, and we just ground down to 6K. There were rallies in between, but overall the direction was to the downside. And then all volatility seemed to have left the market for quite a while, and Bitcoin barely did anything. And then finally, on that fateful November day, we broke the 6K support and crashed all the way down to 3K in a very quick period of time, which was eventually the bottom. And so while it is plausible that what Bitcoin is doing is forming kind of a long-term accumulation zone, that we're in the beginning or maybe even in the middle of that accumulation period, the on-chain metrics are telling us to be real cautious here. There's no organic growth. There's no new users coming in. There's no new addresses. No new money is flying into the exchanges. And although long-term holders are currently content to sit with their coins, which is good, there is a lack of new demand. And that's the lack of new demand. The lack of demand was barely supporting price as it is. If we have a forced selling event, another capitulation event, the current demand is not going to be able to hold the price of Bitcoin up at current levels, and we will crash lower. So I do think that we are moving toward, inevitably perhaps, a final capitulation event, one which could see Bitcoin tumble all the way down to $13,000, $15,000 before the bottom is finally established. So for this reason, I'm going to be talking about how I'm going to be protecting myself with a momentum short position, how I'm going to be managing that position, how I'm going to be what are my metrics to open it up? What do I need to see? What closing basis do I need to see? What indicators am I going to be using? So I'm going to share all that with you today. Make sure you guys stay tuned. So we're going to start off with our technical analysis of Bitcoin and Ethereum. We'll move on to on-chain data for Bitcoin. We'll go over the altcoin markets. We'll summarize what's happening there. We'll be looking for opportunities using my custom screeners and on-chain analysis. And then we'll finish up with kind of an argument for the bulls moving into post Labor Day week. So I hope you guys are ready. I hope you guys are excited. Before we begin, I kindly ask you if you're enjoying the content. By the way, shout out to Jordan is GFX1. Thank you so much for the follow over there, I believe on Twitch. If you guys are enjoying the content, make sure to show you support us by smashing the like button. You can find it down there right at the bottom of the screen if you're watching on YouTube. It looks like this, so just go ahead and give it a tap. And if you really enjoy the content, subscribe so you never miss an update. If you're on Twitch or D Live, you can give us a follow as well. And if you're over there on Twitter, come join us over there. The weather's nice. All right, so let's get right into the charts and break it all down for you. All right, so here's today's market analysis. I posted this. The title of this morning's analysis was Cryptocurrency Markets Stagnate. Where is the opportunity? So here I simply summarize essentially what I've just talked about today, but the on-chain data is leading us to be cautious that what's happening technically is something to be concerned about, the fact that we're breaking support on high volume. And this is exactly what we've seen time and time again. So before we get into this on-chain data that I want to review for you guys, let's go over to the big charts and we'll just start off with our technical analysis. Okay. Hey, Swing Trade Pros in the house. We got a real pro in here today. What's going on, my brother? Okay. We'll start off as we are wont to do here on the weekly chart. So here we can see exactly what's going on. My current position right now is the staggered long. I've been talking about this for a while. I accumulated a Bitcoin long position between current price. My last fill was at 19.3. Between the point of control and down to current price. So I staggered 3 ladder buys. That position is completely full now. It is my limit entries have been completely filled. That is a 2% risk long position, utilizing no leverage. And I have that trade open on Bybit, Bybit futures. If you guys want to trade on Bybit, there is a link down in the description. It is an affiliate link, full disclaimer. All right. So again, here you can just see, I'll zoom in here so you guys can see. You guys can just see what's happening, okay? This is the weekly time frame. So obviously Bitcoin made new lows. We're in a very pronounced bearish trend here. And we've had a bit of a pause. We had this little bear market rally. And what you will miss if you just do technical analysis, if you just use TradingView, and if you ignore Glassnode, on-chain data, sentiment, whale stats, examples, you will miss the fact that whales sold into this rally, right? Exceedingly. We saw some different stages of market participant behavior as Bitcoin fell from its new all-time high. So first off, as Bitcoin made a new all-time high and price started to fall, we see a lot of accumulation happening here between all wallet cohorts, all the way, excuse me, just a second, let me adjust my lens. There we go. We saw accumulation from all wallet cohorts. That is going to be whales all the way down to shrimps. So depending on how large their investment capital is, we saw accumulation in this zone. And then toward this area, we saw the whales kick into distribution as the reality of the bear market hit them. They realized that prices were going to go back up. And so they began selling because now they're underwater because they began accumulating here and here, and they're selling down into this. What's interesting is then we hit a second level of accumulation. We had a second period of accumulation, accumulation, distribution. I was wrong about this little bubble. It's accumulation, distribution. And then we saw a big spike in accumulation here and a big spike in accumulation here. And then here we see the whales switch back into distribution mode. They begin selling their coins at cost basis, getting out because ASOPR, entity adjusted spin output profit ratio, right here bounced back up to 1, which lets us know that on average, Bitcoin holders are not selling at a profit, they're selling at their cost basis. So whales took the opportunity of exit liquidity that was granted to them in the form of a bear market rally to sell their positions, okay? So whales are not being greedy right now. Whales are not expecting higher prices. Whales are expecting lower prices, and they sold into the exit liquidity that we gave them an opportunity for, that retail traders and everybody else gave them an opportunity for. So whales are not expecting higher prices. So I don't want to be counter trading whales. So while there is a good technical setup and while it is still active here, I am picking up this long at support, targeting these higher prices in the event of a more sustained bear market rally. And these things can happen. Whales get it wrong. Institutional investors get it wrong. And maybe, just maybe, this is going to be my time. But in the event that the more likely scenario plays out, and we do break down here. Now, I can't put a strong percentage on the likelihood of breaking down now or the likelihood of breaking down after more sideways. Either is likely, in my opinion, reasonable. This is all very plausible. And again, it is plausible that the bottom is in and we are just moving into an accumulation period. Maybe we'll have a, not really a stop loss, but a Wyckofian spring where price will trade lower than the established low and then spring back up right away. If that were to happen on a 5-minute chart, I would call it a stop loss hunt. When it happens here on the macro weekly chart, I would call that market structure, and that's a Wyckoff method. So we can definitely see that. That's generally a sign of the bottom. So spring down below the low right now of about 17.5. If we got a spring down and then we catapulted right back up, I'm probably going to be pretty bullish, and I'm going to be recommending people to be loading their bags like very quickly. But as it is, that's not happening right now. And it's just looking like we're going to grind lower. And it's really the on-chain data that is fueling my analysis right now, because I can just see the lack of network activity. I can see the decrease in all of the on-chain fundamental metrics. I can just see the liquidity evacuating the space. And what is there right now for Bitcoin? I mean, there's no huge, massive, major event coming up. Ron Legato's got a great question. Where can a United States guy without accreditation trade options? You can trade it on Ledger X. Okay, Ledger X. It's FTX. FTX has great Bitcoin options. Go trade them. Okay. You can also use decentralized options like Lyra or Opin are very, very popular options products that you can use on the Ethereum mainnet. Evacuation. So there's just not a lot of catalysts coming up for Bitcoin. Bitcoin right now is still at the mercy of the broader geopolitical and macroeconomic picture, which is rising bond yields in the United States. Okay, this is bad for equities. This is bad. We've got potentially yield curve control in the Eurozone, a complete lack of buyer demand for Euro bonds, the Chinese economic contagion, their credit bubble that's seeping out into the world. Just things are relatively bad. The euro has continually lost parity to the United States dollar, and all of these things are making the Dixie trade at all time at 20-year highs. So a rising dollar is not a sign of strength in equity markets. Okay, a rising dollar is a sign of investor nervousness. And since everything is benchmarked to the performance of the United States dollar, when you see the United States dollar surging, it implies greater purchasing power of the United States dollar and a greater above parity compared to other foreign currencies, i.e. investors are fleeing into dollars. Okay, and it's really not investors when I say this. It's not as if, Bill Gates is selling all of his Microsoft stock or Elon Musk is getting rid of all of his Tesla stock, although he has sold quite a bit of it, and stocking up US dollars. It's not quite like that. It's more like foreign central banks are increasing their deposits of United States dollars, which reduces the global liquidity for the United States dollar, which can, as you guys know, supply and demand, raise the purchasing power of that asset relative to the value of something else. So, Swing Trade Pros has a good has a good point. Well, hold on. So Damian Hughes has a good point. I thought Bitcoin rose in 2021 while treasury yields were climbing. Yes, they're not always 100% correlated. But I will say that in 2021, that was a roaring bull market. Equities were surging. The global outlook looked very good. The recovery from COVID was well underway. And so there were a lot of positive macroeconomic factors. Evergrande had not defaulted yet. So the beginning of the Chinese credit contagion had not yet spread out into the world, although some analysts were aware of its coming. But, Peter Schiff has been, foretelling the collapse for years, but it's never happened. So Swing Trade Pros points out that all of this is ultimately good for cryptocurrency because cryptocurrency is looking to kind of reestablish and rebase this entire economic system with something better. So yes, I do agree. The more the traditional system becomes convoluted, complicated, and does not serve the means of everyday average people, the more those everyday average people will flee into something that is designed to protect them, which I would argue cryptocurrency, Bitcoin, Ethereum are designed to do that. So, okay, moving on. So, Before we get it, so we're going to do the technical analysis, then we'll do the trade of the day. Actually, I'm sorry, I have that backwards. We're going to do the trade of the day breakdown. So for that, we are going to pull open, these are my active live trades. Let's see here. All right. And these are the trades. So these are the trades I just closed out over the course of the last week. I just closed all three of these positions out this morning. So we closed out BTC USD. We actually made a little bit more profit on here than is displayed on the calculator. But as you guys can see, we did initially pick up Bitcoin. Let's zoom in so you guys can see a little bit better here. Wow. Why are you not working? There we go. So we picked up Bitcoin here at 19,460. And we hit our first price target of 20,499. Obviously, we should have sold into the rally of 24,000, but we held. I wanted that position to be a very long-term swing position in the event that we had a more sustained rally. The price did come down, of course, today to our break-even stop loss. That position is now closed. And we ended up pulling about 3% out of that trade and then a combined about 20% out of MATIC. We opened up two separate positions on MATIC, basically around the same time. Let's see here. So yeah, about 4 days after the initial Bitcoin position, we did pick up this MATIC position. And then we doubled down on it almost a little bit more than a month later on the 22nd of August. The second position did its first take profit and its second take profit. The first position hit its first take profit and then we just closed out because we are seeing a trend shift on the daily chart for MATIC. MATIC's one of my favorite assets to trade. I've made a lot of money trading MATIC, but yeah, it's just we're seeing the market potentially flip and reverse. And in the event that Bitcoin breaks down, I don't want to be holding shitcoins. So do I think Russia accepting crypto for payments to sidestep SWIFT is going to trigger more harsh regulations and corral everything into CBDCs? I mean, listen, I have an unpopular opinion. I think that I think that ultimately, Europe is going to be in a lot of trouble if the war in Ukraine continues. As a humanitarian, what's going on in Ukraine disgusts me. I hate the fact that the people are suffering. But on a wider scale, Russia isn't going anywhere. America doesn't want to fight a massive foreign war right now, although some would argue we do want to because then we could recoup our coffers. But I don't think we would necessarily win. It would not be an easy fight. It would be a shit show if we were to actually go to war against Russia. And certainly, I don't think Europe wants negative relationships with Russia. So right now, Germany's economic engine is really slowed down and kind of shut off, which was the primary economic driver of Europe, in my opinion, economically. So right now, Germany is going to be facing an energy crisis, and all of Europe is going to be facing a massive energy crisis come this winter if this war isn't resolved. I think that the sanctions on Russia inhibit trade, and the energy sanctions are going to force Germany and Europe to come buy energy potentially from the United States, who are going to jack up their prices rather than cheap from Russia. So I think it would behoove Germany and Europe to lift the sanctions on Russia so that we can get the free flow of energy. And I think ultimately that's just the way that it is. There are more lives in the balance, but corral everything into CBDC. I mean, I would say eventually, yes. Have I heard about the Binance stablecoin news hitting the end of September? I think that will cause tons of volatility in the market. I have not. Please send me links. I do know of Curve potentially making their own stablecoin. I am not aware of a potential Binance stablecoin. But Binance has a stablecoin. It's called BUSD. It's the third most popular stablecoin out there. Okay. So I wanted to talk about the trade of the day. So I wanted to showcase MATIC here and just show you guys a little bit of how I trade, if you guys are not students. So we'll go to the daily time frame here. So here we can see when we basically initially entered into MATIC, as you guys can see here, and this is just using the RSI. This is just a good example, but here we can see the RSI crossing above the 50 mark here. So crossing into what Crown calls the bullish control zone, or what I just simply like to refer to as positive alpha, or the positive area of the market. Bullish control zone is totally fine. I say it sometimes too. And we see the RSI crossing above the RSI moving average. So this right here is your momentum oscillator telling you that price is entering into positive territory because RSI is now trading above the 50% mark, and that's good. We have nominal volume that is spiking. We also have here Bitcoin trading above, crossing and closing above the daily baseline, which it remains above for some time. And essentially, this was just simply our trigger. If we go to, real PTP, this is the full algorithmic suite of indicators that I actually do use to trade, that all my students have access to with to trade. And we'll go to MATIC USDT, and we will see the exact same thing. So we have Minx far earlier. You guys can see it. So far earlier than the RSI. Minx, our momentum oscillator, crossing into bullish territory all the way back here. Wadatar explosion showing positive alpha and a rising explosion level on that same candle. But Parallax is not flipped bullish yet. So here we get, between this week, we get all of our indicators flipped positive. And here we enter. You can see this close above the daily baseline. This positive alpha from Wadatar explosion, the rising explosion level, Parallax is bullish, Minx is above the zero line, and we enter long. We take a swing long, and then multiple opportunities to exit. Potentially, this would have been a good exit when positive alpha falls below the explosion level, when Parallax flips bearish, when Minx crosses back below zero, when Minx goes above the overbought level and comes back down. All of these can be exit triggers for the trading strategy that you build, because that's the point, for you to build your own trading strategy so that you have control and that you're in control of your financial future. However, a lot of students do use these plug and play methods and do very well with them. All right, so that's the trade of the day breakdown. And obviously we'll fast forward a little bit. We did hold this position open a little bit longer than normal. And now we can see price on some sell momentum, potentially crossing and closing back down below the daily baseline, indicating a trend shift. We were able to avoid this out of pocket here. The reason why we stayed here is because on-chain data suggested that there wasn't a lot of coins moving around on the MATIC blockchain. So there wasn't actually a lot of forced selling. So I was willing to hold this position, and we ended up being right. We popped and we're actually able to get out at a better price rather than selling all the way down here. So things are good. A little patience is always good. And hey, if price turns around and reverses here, we'll be looking for another opportunity to take a swing long. We're going to need a Wadatar explosion to kind of reset right here, though. So, all right. Now, going back to our Bitcoin analysis, nothing too important here on the weekly time frame. RSI is not oversold. We are crossing back below the RSI moving average, so we're getting a little bit of weekly chop here. This is going to be the third consecutive week we've crossed directions with the RSI moving average. So again, just a lot of chop. Nominal volume, this is real volume in USD, does remain high. So again, this area is a juicy hot point to trade into, but you got to be careful about trading into hot spots. They can be a little treacherous. So going down to the daily, and for this, we'll actually go over to our PTP and use all of our PTP indicators. So BTC USDT, Binance, as you can see, we do remain below the daily baseline. So our overall trend is to the downside. We are going to be looking for swing trades to the downside, looking for continuation signals. As you guys can see, although Minx did get a little oversold, we've got a little bit of divergence here as price moves down, but overall Minx begins to move up. Wadatar explosion did signal for both this short trade and this short trade. So two opportunities there to catch both these down movements that our system provided. Parallax is in the negative control zone, so we are bearish. Minx a bearish. Wadatar explosion bearish. We don't have a rising explosion level. We actually have falling volatility. But one interesting thing I do want to point out is that we are getting a continuation short signal today because Minx is crossing back below the signal line. So there is evidence on the table to be taking a short trade, a continuation short, out of today's daily close. All right, out of today's daily close. And that sets you up nicely for that momentum short to be prepared for a downslide like this. If excuse me, if Bitcoin does lose this key level. All right, so Bitcoin is not going to be terribly bullish, at least from PTP's perspective, until we're able to trade back above 22,351 and hopefully establish a bullish trend. We're not oversold. RSI is not oversold. No spiking momentum. So we're not even really getting those really strong technical bottoming signals here. It's just it's actually pretty depressing. Okay, so Binance is going to be removing USDC and only allowing BUSD. So, you know, that should be kind of interesting, because that should open up the BSC chains and PancakeSwap to probably have another big surge in liquidity and volatility. So I think a potential strategy based on that news is to start paying attention to PancakeSwap and the Binance Smart Chain decentralized DEX trades, because there's probably going to be a lot of extra liquidity there due to the big shift in BUSD. However, it will be very interesting to see how liquidity moves around the market if USDC is being delisted from Binance, which, I mean, there's a lot of reasons that makes sense. I mean, you have to understand that Circle is a private US company and USDC is a privately issued stablecoin. It's a private blockchain. So, whereas, you know, Binance is obviously a direct competitor to them in the form of USD. So that's interesting. Let me think about that for a while. Swing Trade Pros, yes, I have used both the Directional Movement Index, or DI, and Average Directional Index, ADX. In fact, I usually use them together. I've actually used them in that was actually, so ADX was one of my earliest screeners, and I still do use it from time to time. You can use it here on TradingView with the crypto screener. In fact, I might even be able to, I might even still have it. Yeah, 1-day breakout screener. And if we look at the filters that I have applied, we can see average directional index between 15 and 30. And then percent change. And then strong buy moving average. So basically I'm looking for ADX to be about 25-ish, and then to get a strong buy on the moving averages. Not a bad way to trade, but again, we're not really getting anything like that, especially on the daily, because things aren't flat and breaking out. Things are flat and breaking down. Things are flat and breaking down, I tell you. Okay, so back over here. So daily's looking pretty depressing. Now, I want to say that this is still, and I still have the long, this is still a high quality buy at support long setup, all right? Okay? And again, maybe this negative price movement is just as you guys are speculating, due to the delisting of USDC on Binance, and the market will quickly recover from this bad news, and we'll get a nice spike up in price. The 4-hour is suggesting that we are getting a nice little quick turnaround, nice tweezer tip bottom. Not a lot of nominal volume on this buyback so far, but right here, I do like to see this big volume on this breakdown 4-hour candle, and price is pumping nicely here, actually. Huh. Life's funny. My friend just messaged me and literally shorted the bottom and just closed his position out right here, like shorted here. And anyways, 4-hour RSI is oversold. So again, another just feather in the cap of a strong trading opportunity here. If we go down to the 30-minute time frame, we're going to be able to see with a little bit more granularity. We didn't necessarily come down and fill anything. Again, we just came right back down to this shelf. We do have a naked point of control above us, 19,897. That would probably be, well, here. So let's zoom in here. We can use session volume to really see. You guys can see that a lot of volume came in here. So what's tricky here, though, is that I think if you see this initial spike on the 30-minute chart, let's get zoomed in here a little bit more. You guys can see. All right, so look, this is a huge candle to the downside and a big spike in volume and good buying volume here on this candle, this doji candle right here. And look at volume by price. We had a massive amount of volume come in right here. So you know that a lot of people were forced liquidation sellers here, and then people were buying the dip. The problem is the dip kept dipping. So right here, you can see basically the second wave of selling come in right here, okay, at this price level, pushing price down, and then you have ultimately the buyback that works. But the problem is you have so much liquidity right here, okay? Buyers that bought and are underwater, and they're going to use this opportunity to sell. So we might not even get all the way back up here. We might not. We need to overcome this level of resistance. If we could see price trading above, let's say 19,100, that would be a better sign, a good sign of a recovery. And on the 30-minute chart, also RSI oversold and now recovering and back above the moving average. So and we fell outside 2 standard deviations of the VWAP, getting oversold on price. And then we had some nice, you see our price moving down, but RSI moving up, some nice divergence to buy into. And here we are back at the first standard deviation band. I wouldn't be surprised again to see this act as resistance, again, since it corresponds to the session volume, high volume node, and get price to pull back here a little bit. What system lets you short that giant candle bottom? Your gut. That's the system, your gut. You know, when you know, it's happened to all of us, right? You know, maybe you long here and then and you're like, oh my God. Honey, we need to take out a second mortgage. I just lost everything on Bybit. Okay. She left me. And then you know, after that happens and you just suffer that loss, usually what people will do immediately is a revenge trade. They'll just hop back in the other direction, and you know, maybe that happens here, and then this happens, right? And price, you know, they're like, oh yeah, and then they're underwater again, and they're like, I fucking hate my life. Ah! Whoa, Jack, you know what I mean? Inflow. Move on over, because I'm a double dipper. All right. Anyways. Okay, so that's basically what we got. What we're expecting from Bitcoin here. Again, a high probability long setup trade right here. If we get a daily close below 19,000, I'm going to keep my long trade open and let the stop loss close the position if that's necessary. But if we do close the daily below 19,000, I will be following this continuation short. All right. I'll be following this continuation short as well. Because again, I've said it before, I'll say it again. Avoiding this is more important than potentially gaining whatever, right? Protect yourself from loss first, focus on gain second. That's how you do it. Okay, let's move right along. Switch it up. Oh, didn't mean to come here, but nice to see you guys. Okay, here we go. All right. Yeah, so we're going to get into the on-chain data and go over everything about why Bitcoin is just super depressing. But before we do that, a small ad break. If you guys are enjoying the content, if you guys would like to learn how to trade like this, if you guys have learned to improve your ability to trade, I invite you guys to come join our team's premium trading group. You'll get daily access to our team's market analysis, our trade setups, mentoring, our online trading academy, our premium indicator suite, all the indicators you see me use here on screen today. It's invaluable to have a community to help you along in your process when you're trading, and you'll get access to that. All of our former students and alumni are also in the premium Discord as well. You guys can find more information in the plan that meets your needs at premium.krakencryptocurrency.com. Links, as always, to everything I'm talking about are in the description down below. And if that's not you, just smash the like button. We'll take it. All right. So let's get into boom. Let's get into today's on-chain data. All right. So the first metric that we're tracking is new addresses momentum. So we want to see that so we want to see that the 30-day moving average of new addresses is tracking higher than the 365-day moving average of new addresses. And the reason why is because we want to see that new market participants are coming in and actively using the Bitcoin blockchain. You can actively see how healthy the Bitcoin blockchain is by looking at how healthy, you can actively figure out how healthy the price of Bitcoin is likely to be, or what the future price trends are likely to be, by looking at the usage of the Bitcoin network and blockchain, right? If no one's using the blockchain, then no one's trading it. You know, if the number of on-chain transactions are going down, then the number of on-exchange transactions are likely going down. Whereas the other case, if we're having a massive uptick in volume and new addresses and all of this stuff, then likely we're moving towards a bullish trend, because more people to interact with Bitcoin, you have to buy it. To use it, you got to buy it. So anyways, unfortunately, this metric is still relatively flat. It does appear to be creeping up just a little bit here, just a teeny tiny bit, which is good, but still we are below the yearly average. And until that metric reverses, we're going to be very unconfident saying that a bull market is here. All right. Exchange inflows and outflows. This is a 30 daily moving average where we track all flows on and off exchanges. This comes compliments of Glassnode. And we can see a very clear trend when we're in a bull market, or when overall prices are going to be in the long term increasing, or when we're in a long term trend. We can see that exchange inflows and outflows both increase, and we see massive spikes at significant areas of the market, generally tops and bottoms. Okay, you guys can see that here. Whereas when we're in a market decline, we can see the decline of all these metrics. So far, this metric is still grinding lower. 30 daily moving average is still pointing down. And until we see this moving average start ticking back up, we're again going to be unconfident that the bull market is back on. All right. Net realized profit and loss expressed as a percentage of market cap. This is a 90-day moving average. This is one of the most important metrics, in my opinion, for determining that we are in a bull market and when we've shifted into a full-on bear market. So as you guys can see, when traders, as price moves up, traders' positions move into profit, and they will begin locking in profits as they sell their Bitcoin. Whereas if Bitcoin's price is below the average cost basis of investors, then we calculate that they are on average losing money. And so we can see that in previous bear markets, this is just the last 3 years, but in previous bear markets, we can see this metric spike and then recede. And it's really that recession that we want to pay attention to. That's going to be our earliest signal, our earliest trigger. Obviously, when this metric crosses back above zero and we're in the positive, yes, we're in for a roaring bull market most likely, but we missed a lot of the recovery, which can be a lot of the gains. So one positive thing to note here is that this metric did spike, obviously, on this recent dump to 20K. It has crept back up, but unfortunately is grinding a little bit lower right now. So we're just going to need a little bit more time. Again, this is a 90-day moving average, so it does take time to smooth out. So we'll have some more data here over the next few weeks on this. But unfortunately, this metric is still bearish, letting us know that traders on average are still at a loss, and they are locking in losses. All right, average coin dormancy. This is important. This lets us see where the hodlers are. So what this metric does, this metric was originally envisioned by ARK Invest. And so what we're tracking here is when Bitcoins move on the blockchain, how long was it since they last moved and how many days have been destroyed? So if a Bitcoin sits in a wallet for 365 days and then moves, we consider that to be a destruction of 365 days. And so this is very important for tracking what the long-term holders are doing. if really old coins are being spent, then we're going to see this metric decline, increase, which is the signal certainly of the end in a bull market. But again, as you guys can see, in a bull market, we see this metric increase as older coins are being spent in profit. Okay. And if we see this metric increase in a bear market, it usually foretells big price movements to the downside, because older coins are finally being older holders are being forced to sell, which is bad. Fortunately, we can see this metric grind lower and lower and lower and lower. This is good. This indicates that long-term holders, altcoins, are sitting tight. Now, we did see a little bit of a baby spike here on this recent dump and decline. I think that's one reason for the movements that we've had right now. Also, keep in mind that we have the Mt. Gox Bitcoins that are unlocking very soon. And recently, we just tracked a transaction on chain, which was 10,000 Bitcoin. It was moved. It hasn't been moved since 2013. 3.5 thousand Bitcoin did end up moving to exchanges, and the transaction was split into two transactions. And the interesting thing about that was that that wallet was associated with a Mt. Gox wallet, all right, with a wallet that was originally associated with Mt. Gox. Now, the exchange reserve has not been touched. Those coins have not moved yet, so the coins have not been distributed yet, but just something to be aware of. Okay. And perhaps the most important thing to look at. I talked earlier about how we can see that investors are using exit liquidity to get out of break even. And we can see that by looking at adjusted SOPR. This is spent output profit ratio. This measures the difference between the value a coin was received at in a wallet versus the price that it was when it was spent. So if coins are being spent at or around the cost basis in which they were received, investors are break even. If the ratio is higher than that, if the value, if the price of the Bitcoin that is spent is higher than it was received, obviously the coins are being moved at a profit. And if it's lower, obviously it's being sold at a loss. So we can see right here, we're in a bear market. So SOPR is in the negative. Coins are being sent at a price lower than what they were received into their wallets, or what we assumed that they were bought at. And we can see that as this metric reverts back to 1, which would be break even, this was the rally to 24,000. We can see that investors took that opportunity to sell at cost basis, not even waiting for profit at cost basis. And now investors are back at a loss. So again, this metric is very good at telling turning points in the market, but right now it is just telling a tale of price declining. All right. And finally, things have gotten a little worse than since last week. This is the 7-day moving average of Bitcoin net realized profit and loss. And unfortunately, this metric has ground a little bit lower. So right now, traders on average are locking in about $195 million per day in losses as they send and move their Bitcoin, because that is the difference at the price at which they receive their Bitcoin versus what they're currently getting rid of it at. All right. Final update on our valuation model for Bitcoin. Our delta price is sitting down here at about 13,520. That value continues to drop as price grinds lower. This metric has been very good at catching the bottoms of bear markets in the past, and that is where we are setting our targets now. Interesting, this coming from the top exchanges, we can see the positioning of top traders across the major exchanges. And as we can see on the left, we see positions. So it's about split down the middle. All right. It's about 50-50. So active open positions across Binance US, Binance.com, Huobi, or the three Huobis, and OKEX are, for the most part, a little bit more short than long. We see 49%, and that's the majority of long positions. So a lot of hedging, not a lot of directional bias as far as open positions, but accounts. This is spot holdings. This is not active trades. We can see are overwhelmingly net long. So top traders are net long as far as their holdings, not so much as their trades. Obviously, an overall red day in the markets today. An analysis from Crypto Bubbles right here, just showcasing everything of where the markets are. Altcoins are declining. Altcoins of interest. These are strong and oversold altcoins based on MVRV scores, placing them in oversold territory and having strong on-chain activity and network demand. We have Dogecoin, Hex, Uniswap, Apecoin, the Sandbox, Quant, Trust Wallet Token, Steppen on BNB, Gala, and BitGert, which I've never heard of before, but these are coins that are worth taking a second look at. They're in oversold territory and they're having a lot of on-chain demand and network activity, so a lot of transaction volume. So Hex is actually looking a little juicy there. The Sandbox is looking a little juicy. and Gala is looking a little juicy. So there's been a lot of talk about Gala. All right. Also, exchange inflow anomalies. So I also track the top 10 coins that are seeing massive spikes in exchange inflows. This is usually bad. It's not always bad, but usually coins are sent to exchanges to sell. I did say Hex. Thank you, Crypto Poppy. Or Pulse Chain Poppy. We've got Polygon, Chain, which is XCN, Paxos, Loopring, FiUSD, Convex Finance, Flux, LivePeer, Audius, and Storage. So potentially ones to look for. And actually, the fact that MATIC came up as a huge exchange inflow anomaly was one of the reasons why I decided to close my MATIC position out of the 20% profit. All right, so the most interesting, so those are screeners that I've used for a while, but my best positions, my best signals come from my new screener, where I'm monitoring upticks in on-chain and exchange volume, as well as daily active addresses. So what I'm looking for is, ideally, I'm looking for coins that are declining in price, that are experiencing large on-chain transaction volume, large exchange transaction volume, so big buys, as well as a huge uptick in daily active addresses. So I want to see the on-chain pick up. I feel that that's far more important than what's happening on exchange. So Ucash, Terra USD, Hi-Fi Finance, which used to be Mainframe, Mask Network, OnBuff, Adventure Gold, Self-Key, Rupiah Token, Polka Markets, and Crypto Franc. Now, I break all these down as to whether these are buy or sell signals, because you will see spikes in these metrics, whether they're buys or sells. So I recommend navigating to the link in the description down in, if you go to YouTube or anywhere you're watching the show, the link in the description will take you to this market analysis on our website. And I recommend coming here and reviewing my information on all these coins so you guys don't make the wrong sell decisions. And ultimately, I wasn't able to find a lot of glaring buys today. And that's fine. 9 times out of 10, there's nothing to do as a trader. And that's good. You don't want to be making decisions all the time. There's usually not a lot to do. You're just going to get yourself in trouble. So no roaring, flaring buys today. So what we're going to do now is I'm going to scroll the chat for questions. I'm going to roll over here to the big scene. Actually, yeah. So I'm going to roll over here to the big scene. We're going to go to our live chart. No, so close. Here we go. I'm going to go to our live chart here of Bitcoin. This is really interesting. Open interest is really drying up. So positions are really closing. So we're seeing shorts taking profits, and funding is just falling off a cliff. So although open interest is falling, shorts are taking profit. Shorts are taking profit. By the way, chat, if anyone can tell me where I can find live cumulative volume delta indicator for Bitcoin, I will give you a huge shout out here in the chat. All right, so let's scroll through the chat, look for questions. I'll also be taking a few chart requests at this time. We've got about 9 minutes left in the show. So your opportunity to ask any questions or look at any chart reviews that you want. So I just wanted to shout out Todd at the very beginning of the live stream. He said, we need a pro geoguesser to spot the reflection in the sunglasses. Anyone? You know, it's funny because I was making the thumbnail for today's stream, and my partner came in. She said to me, she's like, you know, sure you want to post that picture? They could see the reflection in your glasses, maybe. And I was like, well, I'm not too worried about it. They're not even going to notice it. And it was the first thing someone noticed in the chat. Shout outs to Fifth Ronin, Alex81SG, Private, Swing Trade Pros, of course, B-Flow, Caprica, Damian Hughes, Ron Legato. Oh, Swing Trade Pros just became a father. Congratulations, man. Congratulations. Mini Tuig says we're going to be under 9K next year around April. Capitulation incoming. Ooh. Damian Hughes saying that Wyckoff helped me learn range trading. Yep. Alex81SG recommending Hedgic for options on our Arbitrum. Yeah, we talked about the Binance stablecoin news. Italy today signaling that they want an end to energy sanctions. I mean, I don't blame them. September 29th is the bottom, says Swing Trade Pros. Interesting. Ricky Thompson saying, it seems like we are repeating the cycle again. Being in crypto for 5 years, it seems to repeat a cycle again and again, but every time we can measure it better. Yes, sir. And we play the cycle a little better around each go. Craftsmanship, says Damien Hughes. Try Delta Volume Columns Pro by Loose F. I've used some indicators by Loose F before. Interesting. I will give this a shot. It seems like a lot right now, but I will give it a shot. Bookmap. You know, I do have Bookmap. And then Cornholio says he uses ExoChart. Yeah, you know what? That was the one. ExoChart. That's right. Yep, ExoCharts. Okay, cool. All right, cool. ExoCharts and Coinalyze. Yeah, I do have Coinalyze. All right, cool. Features data. Technical analysis. I go to Bitcoin. Maybe I go to charts. Open interest, liquidation, funding, long short ratio. Aggregated charts. More? Here we go. Not seeing any CVD here. Yeah, thank you. And then Bookmap. Yep, this is very helpful. So one of the indicators and strategies that I want to populate for everybody is open interest, funding, and CVD. I'd like to make a video on that and then kind of teach everybody how to utilize that. I mean, you know, because what I've been doing generally for day trading is VWAP RSI and session volume for my levels, and I have very good success with that. Indicators inside the chart of Coinalyze. Thank you very much. Let's see here. Let's go look at, I don't really want open. I don't really want, there we go. Indicators. Cumulative volume delta. Holy shit. Okay. Thank you, man. Very helpful. Very helpful. Cool. That'll give me something to play with and work on. All right. Let's come over here. I don't have, I'm not seeing any final questions. So we'll just go here for the outro. Okay. So overall, not a lot of action to be had. You know, I really am taking this time as a trader to focus on building high quality setups for the long term, catching the volatility that I can, advising the members of the premium trading group on the highest quality setups that I can. But I'm using this opportunity, I'm using this downtime to build. I'm building strategies, I'm building automated strategies. I am focusing on the system, I'm focusing on the process of trading. All right. There was so much more I wish I would have done better in this last bull market. And I did better in this last bull market than the bull market before that. But this next bull market, I would like to be able to retire. So I want to absolutely nail this next bull market. And I do not believe those who say that the liquidity is gone and that there's no other bull market coming. The bull market is coming. The technology is coming. Retail is coming. More institutions are coming. Fucking CBDCs are coming, right? Central banks are coming for the blockchain. So I'm going to be positioned and prepared. And I hope you guys come along with me for the journey. The way you can do that is you can hit that subscribe button if you have not already and smash the like button so we can increase the following even more. Check out the premium trading group to enhance your skills. All of the links are down in the description for everything you could possibly need in life, whether it's exchanges, free crypto, all kinds of stuff. We will be back tomorrow. Same crypto station, same crypto time for another episode of the Breaking Bitcoin Market Update. And of course, I will be reading a user's comment live on the air. So if you would like your comment read live on the air, make sure to take the opportunity and leave a comment on today's YouTube video. I'll give you a shout out and read and answer your question tomorrow during the stream. That's all for me. Until next time, remember guys, emotional discipline and risk management are responsible for paying the bills. And never forget to hold the ones you love close. Take all the opportunities in your life to enrich it. Until next time, guys, trade safely. And I'll see you on the next one.